I want to start with a question, and I want you to actually think about the answer before you keep watching. If you are married, or if you were married for at least 10 years at some point in your life, do you know whether you might be entitled to collect up to 50% of your spouse's or your ex-spouse's Social Security benefit? Not your own benefit, theirs. A second benefit sitting right there that has nothing to do with your own work history. Most people watching this right now either do not know this rule exists, or they know it exists in some vague way but have never actually checked whether they qualify. And that gap between knowing something exists and actually claiming it is costing married and divorced retirees thousands of dollars every single year. Today, we are closing that gap completely. My name is Finn, and this is Finn Retires, the channel built to make sure you are getting every single dollar you are legally entitled to in retirement. If this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button right now before we go any further. Every week on this channel, we cover the rules that most retirees never hear about until it is too late to fully benefit from them. And the spousal benefit rule we are discussing today is one of the most underclaimed benefits in the entire Social Security system. So subscribe, stay with me, and let us make sure you are not leaving money on the table. Let us start with the basic mechanics, because understanding exactly how this works is the foundation for everything else in this video. Social Security spousal benefits allow an eligible spouse to receive a monthly benefit based on their partner's earnings record, rather than high or in addition to high their own. This exists because Social Security was originally designed in an era when many households had one primary earner, and the system needed a way to provide retirement income to a spouse who may have spent years out of the workforce raising children or managing a household, with little or no Social Security earnings of their own. That original purpose still applies today, but the rule itself benefits any married couple where one spouse earned significantly more than the other over their careers, which describes a very large number of American households. Here is the core number you need to remember. The maximum spousal benefit available at your own full retirement age is 50% of your spouse's primary insurance amount. I want to pause on that term, primary insurance amount, because misunderstanding it is one of the most common mistakes retirees make. The primary insurance amount is the benefit your spouse would receive if they claimed Social Security at exactly their own full retirement age, not the amount they would receive if they claimed early at 62, and not the larger amount they would receive if they delayed until 70. It is the full retirement age number, full stop. So if your spouse's primary insurance amount is $3,000 a month, your maximum spousal benefit, assuming you claim it at your own full retirement age, is $1,500 a month. That number does not change whether your spouse actually claimed early, on time, or late. It is anchored entirely to that one fixed figure. Let me put real 2026 numbers on this so the scale is clear. The maximum possible Social Security retirement benefit at full retirement age in 2026 is $4,152 per month. That means the maximum possible spousal benefit available to anyone in the country this year is $2,076 per month, over $2,000 every single month. That requires absolutely no work history of your own. Most people will not be at that maximum ceiling, but the principle scales proportionally for every income level. If your spouse's primary insurance amount is $2,000, your maximum spousal benefit is $1,000. If it is $2,500, your maximum spousal benefit is $1,250. This is real, meaningful income, and a significant number of married retirees are either not claiming it at all or claiming it incorrectly in a way that reduces what they receive. Now let me walk you through the specific rules, because there are several details here that catch people off guard, and getting any one of them wrong can cost real money. The first critical rule is this: the higher earning spouse must already be receiving their own Social Security retirement benefit before the lower earning spouse can claim the spousal benefit. This sounds simple, but it has a significant practical consequence that surprises a lot of couples. If the higher earning spouse decides to delay their own benefit until age 70 to maximize their delayed retirement credits, a smart strategy in many cases, which we have covered in previous videos on this channel, The lower earning spouse cannot begin receiving their spousal benefit until the higher earner actually files. Even if the lower earning spouse is 67, has reached their own full retirement age, and is fully eligible in every other respect, if their spouse has not yet filed, the spousal benefit is not available to them yet. This creates a real coordination challenge for couples, and it means that the decision of when each spouse claims cannot be made in isolation. It has to be made as a household decision, with both spouses' timelines considered together. The second critical rule involves what happens when you yourself have a work history and are entitled to your own retirement benefit, in addition to a potential spousal benefit. Here is exactly how the Social Security Administration handles this. You do not receive both your own benefit and the spousal benefit added together. What happens instead is that the Social Security Administration pays your own earned benefit first, and then compares it to what you would receive as a spousal benefit. If your own benefit is lower than the spousal benefit you would be entitled to, the Social Security Administration adds a supplemental amount to bring your total payment up to match the higher spousal figure. In practical terms, you always receive the higher of the two amounts, never both stacked on top of each other. This often surprises people who assume that having their own work history and Social Security record means they will simply add the spousal benefit on top. That is not how it works. What it does mean is that if your own benefit is significantly lower than 50% of your spouse's primary insurance amount, you should absolutely be receiving the higher spousal-based amount. And if you are not, that is worth checking immediately. The third critical rule is one that genuinely surprises most retirees, and it is fundamentally different from how a worker's own retirement benefit operates. Your own Social Security retirement benefit grows through delayed retirement credits if you wait past your full retirement age, an 8% increase for every year you delay up to age 70, as we have discussed in earlier videos on this channel. The spousal benefit does not work this way at all. Claiming the spousal benefit later than your own full retirement age provides absolutely no increase. There are no delayed retirement credits for spousal benefits. This means that for the purpose of the spousal benefit specifically, your own full retirement age is the optimal claiming point. There is no financial advantage to waiting any longer. If you are the lower earning spouse in your household, and your primary source of income will be the spousal benefit, waiting past your own full retirement age to claim it does not increase what you eventually receive. It simply means you are leaving money unclaimed for no additional benefit. Now I want to talk about a group of people who are affected by this rule in an even more overlooked way: divorced individuals. This is genuinely one of the least understood corners of the entire Social Security system, and the data on how few people know about it is striking. According to industry research, roughly half of American adults incorrectly believe that being divorced eliminates any possibility of claiming Social Security benefits based on a former spouse's earnings record. That is not true. If your marriage lasted at least 10 years, if you are currently unmarried, and if you are at least 62 years old, you may be entitled to the exact same 50% spousal benefit based on your ex-spouse's primary insurance amount, calculated using the identical rules we just walked through for married couples. There are a few specific details that apply to divorced individuals that are worth understanding clearly. If you have been divorced for at least 2 consecutive years, you can claim this benefit even if your ex-spouse has not yet filed for their own Social Security retirement benefit, which is different from the rule for current spouses, where the higher earner must have already filed. This matters significantly for divorced individuals because it removes the coordination problem entirely. You do not need to know or track when your ex-spouse decides to claim their own benefit. Once you have been divorced for 2 years and you are 62 or older, you can file on your own timeline. Additionally, and this surprises almost everyone who learns about it, your ex-spouse claiming this benefit does not reduce their own Social Security payment in any way, and it does not affect their current spouse's benefit if they have remarried. The calculation is entirely independent. Your ex-spouse will never even be notified that you have filed for a benefit based on their record. This is not money taken from them. It is a separate entitlement that exists because of your marriage history, calculated and paid completely separately by the Social Security Administration. Let me tell you about someone named Dorothy. because her situation illustrates exactly how much money can be at stake when this rule goes unclaimed. Dorothy was married for 18 years before her divorce. She spent much of that marriage raising 3 children and working part-time, which meant her own Social Security earnings record was relatively modest. Her own primary insurance amount works out to about $900 a month at her full retirement age. Her ex-husband, who worked steadily in a higher-paying career throughout those same years and beyond, has a primary insurance amount of approximately $2,800 a month. For years after her divorce, Dorothy simply claimed her own Social Security benefit when she turned 62, assuming that was her only option since she was no longer married. She received a reduced version of her $900 benefit, somewhere around $600 a month, after the early claiming reduction was applied. It was not until a friend mentioned the divorced spousal benefit rule to her in passing that Dorothy looked into it for herself. Because her marriage had lasted 18 years, well past the 10-year minimum, and she was unmarried, she qualified for a spousal benefit based on her ex-husband's record. At her full retirement age, that benefit would have been $1,400 a month, 50% of his primary insurance amount, more than double what she had been receiving on her own. Dorothy had already claimed early, which meant her situation required working with the Social Security Administration to understand exactly how her claiming history affected her options going forward. But the larger point stands clearly. For years, Dorothy left potentially hundreds of dollars a month unclaimed simply because she did not know this benefit existed for divorced individuals. Multiply that gap across the years before she learned about it, and the unclaimed total runs into many thousands of dollars. I want to take a moment to address something important because I do not want anyone watching this video to assume that the spousal benefit rule only matters for one specific type of household. It applies broadly, and it is worth checking your situation even if you are not sure it applies to you. If you are currently married and one spouse earned significantly more than the other over the course of your careers, even if both spouses worked, it is worth checking whether the lower earner's own benefit is actually higher than what they would receive through the spousal calculation. If you are divorced and your marriage lasted 10 years or longer, it is worth checking regardless of how long ago that marriage ended, or whether your ex-spouse has remarried. And if you are a widow or widower, the rules shift to survivor benefits rather than spousal benefits. Survivor benefits can be worth up to 100% of the deceased spouse's benefit, which is an even larger entitlement that deserves its own detailed conversation in a future video. So here is what I want every single person watching this video to do this week. If you are married, log into your My Social Security account at ssa.gov and pull up both your own benefit estimate and your spouse's. Do the simple math. Take 50% of your spouse's primary insurance amount and compare it to your own projected benefit at your full retirement age. If 50% of their benefit is higher than your own, you may be leaving money unclaimed, and this is worth a direct phone call to the Social Security Administration to confirm exactly how the claiming timeline works for your specific household. If you are divorced and your marriage lasted 10 years or more, do not assume the door is closed simply because you are no longer married to that person. Call the Social Security Administration directly at 1-800-772-1213. Explain your marriage history and ask specifically whether you may qualify for a divorced spousal benefit. You do not need your ex-spouse's permission, cooperation, or even their knowledge to make this inquiry or to file a claim if you qualify. I also want to mention something relevant for 2026 specifically that ties into this topic. The One Big Beautiful Bill Act introduced a new $6,000 senior bonus deduction for taxpayers aged 65 and older, available through 2028, something we covered in detail in a previous video on this channel about Social Security taxation. For married couples who are receiving spousal benefits in addition to other retirement income, this deduction can help preserve more of that household income by lowering overall taxable income. If spousal benefits are a meaningful part of your household's retirement plan, it is worth discussing this deduction with your tax preparer alongside your Social Security claiming strategy, because the two pieces work together. The single biggest takeaway I want you to leave this video with is this. Social Security claiming decisions should never be made by one spouse in isolation, and they should never be made without considering whether you might qualify for a benefit based on someone else's earnings record entirely, whether that person is your current spouse or an ex-spouse from a marriage that ended years or even decades ago. The rules around timing, eligibility, and how these benefits interact with your own work history are genuinely complex, and the Social Security Administration, while generally helpful when you call them directly, will not proactively reach out to tell you about an entitlement you have not asked about. The responsibility to check falls on you, but as you have seen today, the financial upside of checking can be substantial. If this video helped clarify something about your own situation, or if it made you think of someone in your life who might be affected by this rule, whether currently married or divorced from a long marriage, please share it with them today. This is exactly the kind of information that gets passed along informally, through friends and family, the same way Dorothy in our story finally learned about her own eligibility. Your share today could genuinely change someone else's monthly income for the rest of their retirement. Drop a comment below and let me know. Did you know about the divorced spousal benefit rule before watching this video? Have you checked whether you or your spouse might be entitled to a higher benefit through this rule? I read every single comment on this channel, and your experience genuinely helps other people in this community understand whether this applies to their own situation. Tell me your story below. The next video on this channel is going into survivor benefits. What happens to Social Security income when a spouse passes away? And the specific decisions that can mean the difference between financial stability and financial stress during one of the hardest transitions in a person's life. If you are not yet subscribed, hit that button now so you do not miss it. Take care of yourself, take care of your household's retirement income, and I will see you in the next one.